What is the difference between astrology and using the zodiac as an internal power system of meditation? Well, let's get started with this idea. When you think of the zodiac, most people naturally think of astrology. In these terms, it's most easily seen through using it as a divination, or let's call it predictive skill, based off of your personal chart. However, there are also things that can be done using astrology in terms of talismanic magic, and this makes up the second primary use most people have for astrology writ large. They use the power of the zodiac to empower a talisman in order to aid them with a given thing. That's where most people leave magic and astrology. But that's not where you have to leave it. The zodiac itself can be used as an internal power system. Now, this is fairly uncommon and honestly mostly works at the mental level, at least initially. But it doesn't have to. You see, here's the thing. Historically, the zodiac also had a school of medicine associated with it. So even hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, people recognized that the zodiac could in fact be used as a power source. Now, if you go back and read different works by, say, Paracelsus, or by John Michael Greer, or other authors of this sort that deal with zodiacal magic, examples of this, by the way, happen to include the Picatrix, and you can also go looking at different works by Paracelsus. In this, what you're going to find is that organs, herbs, and planets are also associated with all of the functions of the zodiac. So if you look at this concept of planets ruling the zodiac constellations, or another way of putting this, the zodiac constellations mitigating the effects of the planets, you can also see how there is a route of transmission for these various powers from one state of existence to another. Hence, it can be used for things like medicine. Now, as a practical matter, when utilizing the zodiac for medicine, part of this comes in with timing, but it can also come in and involve things like spagyrics. And as people here know, I've been known to produce some of these every once in a while. There we go. And had pretty good effects in utilizing them and treating various conditions. So how would that work? Well, you could empower the creation of your spagyric using a zodiacal force or constellation force on the appropriate day of what is normally known as its ruling planet. Okay, that's pretty interesting. There's some things that could definitely be done there. But if we're really going to be talking about magic, what's the empowerment aspect of what's going on? Because ultimately that's what we want to work on. Well, as some folks here know, I've been dealing with Barton's Kabbalah for the last few years. Specifically, I mostly do that work through the method known as ball above head. By taking a given force, creating its component characteristics of color and sensation and sound above the head, usually along with a symbol, running that through the body. Well, these things also have, in many cases, both planetary and elemental associations that can be combined to further enhance a given effect. So that's the ball above head method as applied to the zodiac. And of course, that's going to be part of an upcoming course that I've discussed with various people here at different points in time. So now you've got something that can be applied to the zodiac, that is, in terms of medicine, fair enough. And you've got an internal power method that you can use to generate that force. Okay, Those seem to be the basics of a lot of magic systems. Now, what else is involved with this? Well, as per usual, when you start dealing with an energy, there's both an egregore and correspondingly entities associated with this. Now, when you're talking the constellations of the zodiac, most people would go to the deacons. This is a good way to go. They're well established, people know what they are. However, if you're capable of doing your own path working, you're not limited to this approach. In fact, I created an entire system of Zodiac Kabbalah based off of path working and, of course, sessions to verify what was going on with Kabbalah teaching spirits from each phase of the Zodiac. You can also search out guiding spirits whose job it is to show you around in order to meet the people, or in this case, entities, that best suit your goals. So we've got all that going on. We understand now how the planets and the elements relate to the zodiac. We understand a little bit of what it can be used for. So what comes next? So the next stage of the work involves actually utilizing the power of the zodiac directly. The good news is the power of the zodiac is largely mental in nature. And so this tends to be fairly easy for most people to engage with because, let's be honest, people who are involved with astrology tend to be a little on the brainy side. Now, because the human body isn't static, this mental energy can be transmuted down into the astral or sensation realm, and finally down into the vital realm, where it can be utilized to do different operations with. So this is how, by applying astrology to the zodiac, you can in turn harness it for use as an internal power system for magical workings. And to be honest with you, having run a few groups of people through this already, what we found is it works pretty well. A lot of the side effects normally associated with working with the planets because of their issues of duality and energy pretty much mitigated by working through the zodiac. Being largely mental, you have to work pretty hard to get a negative effect out of the zodiac. And as a result, if you're using that as the basis point for what you're doing, it tends to mitigate the behavior of the planets and more vital forces. Additionally, for those of you interested in Buddhism, these constellation-based meditations have a very similar mental level effect as a lot of the Buddhist deities too. So this could provide an interesting historical corollary to the fact that a lot of ancient Greeks ended up converting to Buddhism while along the Silk Road area. Perhaps it was simply because the meditations they were used to doing were simply very similar. The truth of the matter is we don't know, but it is an interesting point to consider. So if you like the subject of today's video, please hit the subscribe button down below. All of the details associated with the video are contained in the text portion of the box below. And additionally, it wouldn't hurt if you'd like to drop a comment, share the video with someone else, or leave us a like. Otherwise, as per usual, train hard and be well.